Well, hello, and welcome back to another podcast episode with Brittany Bundles. You are listening to the Brittany Bundles podcast, where we empower people through entrepreneurship. And today, I'd like to go back to the basics for a moment. And I'm going to be going over 4 questions that you should ask yourself if you are in business. Now, this podcast episode is inspired by the website sloanreview.mit.edu. And this article was written by Benjamin Laker on August 23rd, 2022. So if you do want to go back and reread the article, there is your point of reference. Before we get further into the episode today, I am going to ask that you share the podcast episode. Sharing the episode brings more awareness to entrepreneurship and different resources as a whole. It also brings spotlight to entrepreneurs that have been on the platform before. So I'm going to ask that you share the podcast. It just takes a moment. You can share via text, DM. You can spread the word via word of mouth. I'm going to go ahead and allow you to get creative and share the podcast, and I'll be back in just a moment. All right, so we are back, and I do want to thank you all for being here on the podcast. It really does mean a lot to me. Some of you have been listening to the podcast since its birth. I think it's been about 3 to 4 years at this point. And your support does not go unnoticed. If you're not following the Instagram for the podcast, please do so. It's under Brittany Bundles _podcast, and I'll spell it out toward the end of the video. So the first point that is listed is, what problem does my potential business solve? So when you start a business, a lot of times you're thinking to yourself, what is my business going to do? What are we going to specialize in? How much money can I make? How many people can I help? What is my overhead going to look like? Some of these questions, right? And when you're thinking about it, you're thinking about if you're going to also offer a product or provide a service. And all of that is wrapped into what potential business problem am I going to solve, or it can be. Figuring out if you're going to sell a product or a service. That can be involved in that question there. Figuring out how much money it's going to take in investments, and overhead cost, and marketing, production, that can be wrapped and paired with that question too. So figuring out initially, what problem are you going to solve? So when I started my hair business, one of the problems that I wanted to solve was accessibility. At that point, there was not a lot of hair vendors that offered virgin hair that was local. So in order to get good virgin hair, it was a process of hit and miss, right? Like a lot of people had to go online, choose these vendors that were overseas, and then cross your fingers that you were going to get good quality, like the review video that you may have saw on YouTube, or similar to what a friend got when they ordered from that company. But you were really just shooting a shot in the dark, hoping that you got good product. And at that point, when I started my hair business, I didn't know if I wanted to offer raw virgin hair or virgin hair. For those of you that aren't in the hair industry, just stick with me. But for those of you that are, you understand the difference, right? Like when you're selling raw virgin hair, that's a whole different game, whole different ballpark. And so some of the hair would have lice in it. And I'm like, what did I get myself into? And so I stuck with virgin hair. It was a lot less invasive. It felt like it just seemed a lot more practical for what I was trying to do. And so that was the problem that I wanted to solve. I wanted to solve accessibility. And then I also looked for a quality and also affordability. I wanted to be able to offer good quality hair, and I wanted it to be affordable, but I didn't want to lead with just price. So I wasn't necessarily always aiming to be the cheapest, but I was aiming to provide the best value. And so just asking yourself certain questions about what you want to do and how you're going to do it will also help answer the question of what problem does your business potentially solve. That is a great point, great starting point for any entrepreneur to ask themselves. And also, if you've been in business for some time and you've lost connection with your business, you've gotten out of touch with what you want to do, your why, and what you should do next, you might want to go back and revisit this question too. What problem does your potential business solve? The next question is, do you have a team in place? Do you have the right team in place, So a lot of us are sole entrepreneurs, right? It's just us operating our business from day to day. We wear many hats, but sometimes there's multiple people that are joining us in our business venture. So the example that I want to use for this is when I opened my salon. I was used to working by myself through e-commerce because before I opened my salon, I was selling hair extensions online, which I still do through batcheckhair.com. And then I decided to offer the extensions because one of the problems that I wanted to solve was accessibility. So I wanted people to be able to order locally and have me deliver the hair on hand, have me ship it to them. And I also wanted them to be able to actually walk into a physical storefront and be able to choose from good quality virgin hair and leave with it the same day. And so because of the business expansion, I wasn't just online, I needed a team. And so I hired different people and added different people to the team so that our business could run efficiently. Now, when you're doing that, you do have to constantly evaluate the people and the goal and your culture in the business. Have to figure out, is this the right person for this particular job? Is this the right culture for this particular person? And making sure that everything works harmonious, because there can be situations where you hire the wrong team and it seems like everything that you've worked so hard for starts to fall apart. If you go on YouTube and you type in business story times, you may be shocked to hear about some of the story times that business owners are coming to the internet with and have come to the internet with for years in regard to the people that they've hired. Hiring the wrong team can really sometimes even close your business down. Not everyone is going to care about the integrity of your business like you do. Not everyone is going to work with integrity. Not everyone's going to treat your customers and clients with respect. Think about spending so much money and time building up a book of resources for your business, a clientele, just to invite people in your business to help you in what you think is going to progress your business forward, and they treat those customers like crap. That happens a lot of times. When you go to McDonald's and you're ordering food and the cashier at the window is really, really rude, you may leave a bad review at that franchise. And think about how shocked the franchise owner may be when they receive that review. Like, wait a minute, why are you doing that? And how upset or how taken back they may feel. So it is really important to have the right team, interviewing multiple times, making sure that you're going through the resume, you're contacting references, you're looking at their book of business and their work so far if you're hiring for like a different stylist in your salon. And you're going off of your intuition too, feeling the vibe in the room, filling out their professionalism, maybe even letting them go take a tour of the salon or the office and seeing what the reaction is when they're touring. Always being sure to vet the right people. And even if you are sure and you do everything you can on your checklist to try and bring in the right people, there can also be some times where you fail at that because your assumption or idea of someone may not be who they really are. And sometimes it just takes some time to get to know that. And then also people change. So even if you had the right assumption of someone in this season, doesn't mean that they're going to remain the same. And just because you find someone that's a great fit doesn't mean they're going to think they're a great fit. They may find different place of employment. So it is very challenging to find the right team. I think that was one of the most challenging parts of running the salon, finding the right people and keeping the right people. But it definitely is possible. And it's possible to continue to have like a funnel of good people that you can call on in the event that you need to hire, okay? The next question is, how much capital do I need in order to get started? So I mentioned that question in the beginning too, before we even got to this point. But asking yourself about finances. Now, luckily, when you are running an e-commerce business, there are different ways that can make your business venture more affordable, i.e., such as, like, an example would be drop shipping, okay? I started offering drop shipping with my company years ago because I saw a need for it. That was another problem I wanted to solve. I was successful with selling hair and people wanted to know how could they get started? How can I get started? And so I started talking about wholesale and how you could purchase the wholesale from me and how it would help you with different tutorials and different videos and different consultations, get your business up and running. And then there were people that would come to me and say, hey, Brittany, I love what you're doing. I want to join, but I don't have the money to buy wholesale. Some people would come to me and they would say, I'm a single mom. Some people would say they just got terminated from their job. Some people would say that they're on a fixed income. And so I decided to create an option of drop shipping where people could still start their hair business, still sell and promote hair, and they could start with a minimum fee of $50. And that $50 has been the same since it started. It's always been $50, and it's still $50. How many companies or services can you say remain the same price after years? Not many. But that's something that has been the same price because it's something, and of course I have added different plans to it, but the basic dropshipping membership has always been $50 because I haven't wanted to increase it. The reason that I created it was for people that needed to have that cushion or didn't want to invest a whole lot into selling hair. And so that option gave dropshippers the ability to sell hair, generate revenue, and be able to save up the money from that to then purchase in wholesale, which gave them a bigger profit. And I even wrote a book about that, Dropshipping Now, Wholesale Later, a dropshipping guide for hair businesses. If you're interested in checking that out, I'll leave a code on this podcast. The code will be podcast1. If you go to my website right now or after this podcast and type in podcast and the number 1, so podcast 1, then you'll get, what do I want to do? I will do half off the dropshipping book right now. Okay, so the dropshipping book is $10.99. I'll do half off if you use the code podcast1, and the code is going to be good for the entire month of October. If you're listening to the podcast episode after October 24th, 2024, then you want to, disregard if you're going to purchase after November 1st, 2024. But for all of you listening today, take advantage of that 50% off code podcast1. And then also I'm going to do 50% off the standard dropshipping membership as well. So if you sign up for dropshipping, instead of $50, it's $25. The website is badchickhair.com. So be sure to check that out if you are interested. But like I was saying, that is a great question to ask yourself about the financial portion, because a lot of times we don't really dive too far into that, and even if we do, sometimes it's like a part of our plan that's glossed over and we're thinking we're just going to get the money when we need it. But you want to really be calculated as far as what your expenses are going to be. If you have to start small, start small. I'd rather start small without a lot of added financial pressure than to start with a lot of overhead expenses and then have a lot of pressure in that area amongst so many different other areas, marketing and managing your team, making sure you have the right products and the right value and communicating with your vendors. It's a lot to worry about, even if you do have a team with you being the owner. So I would start small. E-commerce is a great part to start at. Even with e-commerce, you want to make sure that you're setting yourself up a budget. So how much is your website fee going to cost to get created? How much is it going to be every month? Are you going to have an email mailing list? Which I hope the answer to that is yes. How much is it going to cost for your email mailing list service? Are you going to have different payment method or different payment merchants? If you are, how much are you going to give to them? Like what percentage are they taking from each sale or each transaction? You want to make sure that you're aware of all of that. How much you're going to spend on marketing? How much are you going to spend on your inventory? Even if you're not buying in bulk and you're drop shipping, how much are those fees? So taking a look at that too. Some drop shipping companies add a lot of fees onto their drop shipping service. I have decided not to do my drop shipping service that way, but some do. So you want to make sure that you're just looking at everything, your branding items. How much is this all going to cost? And what way are you going to pay for it? The last question that is listed is, what are the risks and potential rewards? So asking yourself, if I do this business venture, what are my risks and what are going to be the rewards? So I had to think about that for myself as well. Starting this hair business, what are going to be the risks and rewards? Okay, one of the risks were, if I purchase all this inventory from this vendor, what if I get the inventory and I don't like it? It's not like my testers. That could potentially be a big loss. What if I market for a whole year and for some reason I don't get my target audience? And so I instead of me investing and thinking I was going to get a return on my investment, I actually lost out on it. I mean, just asking yourself these questions and having the conversation with yourself, but the challenge is not talking yourself out of it if it's something you really want to do. I'm a firm believer that there's always a way. You just have to figure out what that way is. And that can be challenging. But if you want something bad enough, if you want to do it, there's a way to do it. Sometimes we get discouraged and we get exhausted along the way, that we just give up and we go back to what is familiar. But you don't reach your level of success. Many of us don't reach our level of success staying in comfortability. Sometimes, most times, it's going to take for us to go outside of what we're comfortable doing. It's going to take for us to grow. And so when you're growing, a lot of times it doesn't feel comfortable. There are going to be some growing pains and there may be some losses, but also think about the rewards. So if this works, what will happen? I was able to have the freedom to not go into my 9-to-5 job. I was able to have the freedom to be able to choose what I wanted to do with my day. I was able to have the freedom to not have to put my daughter in daycare. So just figuring out what are my rewards and what are my risks, and then also figuring out as many ways that you can jot down to mitigate those risks. Okay, what can I do to kind of to make sure that this doesn't happen? And if this happens, this is my fallback method. So I really hope that this podcast episode helps someone out there. I don't want the conversation to end. If you do want to be a guest on the Brittany Bundles podcast, please email me, the letter B, as in Brittany, Talks, TALKS, @yahoo.com. Also, please follow me on social media. On social media, the podcast Instagram is Brittany Bundles _podcast. That is Brittany, BRITTNEY, Bundles, BUNDLES _podcast, PODCAST. You can also follow me on Instagram at Brittany _Bundles. I'm on Facebook, Brittany Bundles, YouTube, Brittany Bundles. And until next time, I'll talk to you all in the next podcast episode.